This podcast is a 98 Studios production.
Today's the day, baby.
Today's the day.
Today's the day.
Today's the motherfucking day. Today is the day.
Today's the day.
Today is the day. Today's the day.
What up, everybody? Welcome back to Today's the Day with Zack Anderson. I'm excited for today's episode. Josh has become somebody that I look at as a friend, like a worthy rival, you might say, and just a really, really cool dude in the industry that I'm super glad and fortunate to have gotten to know so far. Josh, before I give you your intro, before anything else, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I know you traveled in with the rental car. I don't know how long you're in town, so I'm glad you made time to be here. So thank you, man. I appreciate it a lot.
Dude, no problem. Love to be here, man.
We're going to have some fun. But Josh Holland, just so if you guys don't know the name, you will, runs a massive org in solar with Solar Pros. He's been in the industry long time, but your region's been around 2 years, Relentless. You're coming up on year 2, wrapping up year 2, right?
Yep.
Went from 5 reps to well over 200 reps right now, pacing around 250 reps that you oversee. You help make sure things go smooth, et cetera, and pacing to go do just under 2,000 installs second year. So, dude, I mean, hats off to you. Those are big boy numbers. I'm year 1 right now, so I'll make sure I just go stay ahead of your mark. That's my goal.
Let's go.
I'm just kidding. But, dude, you guys are beasts, and every interaction I've had with you, I've been super impressed. That's the reason that I wanted to have you on here. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Dude. Man, that means a lot. I really appreciate that. The feeling's super mutual. Like I obviously I didn't know who you were, saw you. I was like, hey, I want to be around that guy. Let's get to know him. Sought you out, and we had a really cool first talk. And then every conversation after that's just been just easy. You got you're super vibey, dude. I love it. It's like you have an aura about you.
We were vibing together in Redwoods, dude.
Yeah.
We may not know each other incredibly well. We kind of been through it. I seen you at a pretty low point.
Yeah, dude.
We were hanging out in the Redwoods having a good time. Dude, it was a lot of fun, and that was really cool. It was also really cool to get to know the people that you're surrounded with. Yeah. Because it speaks volumes about you, the way they talk about you, just how cool they were. Shout out to all your boys that we were hanging out with in California, just barely. Really cool dudes. So, man, help everybody. I know you have a podcast as well that you help run for the Solar Pros. Yeah. I know that world is very familiar with you, hopefully, and maybe there's things they're not familiar with that we can go and pull the curtain so they can see parts of you they haven't and get to know you on a deeper level. But like your story, I don't know any of this, so it's always really fun for me when I don't know. Where are you from? What background do you come from? Give me the rundown. Where were you born? How was it growing up? How did you get to where you're at? And we'll go all the way through the story.
Dude, yeah, let's go. Born and raised in Utah. Grew up in Riverton.
Okay.
Shout out Silver Wolves, baby. I grew up there. The youngest of, I have an older brother, an older sister. My brother's 4 years older than me. My sister's 5. Great parents. My dad's he was a carpenter, general contractor carpenter. We grew up kind of out in the little outskirts of Riverton. Now it's all blown up into Harriman, and it's all changed, but grew up there. Always played sports, was really into football and lacrosse. Super fortunate to be born into a family that, my dad's a great example of just like, he just gets after it. Like he works so hard. I've never seen him complain one time, and been through some hard times financially. Like he was a guy in the housing business when 2007 to 2009, that recession. His business was scaling, and I watched it fall. Yep. Restart.
How old were you during that time?
I was going into my senior year of high school.
I was young. I was really young, but even at my age, it was like our family prayers now included the economy, which was really weird. Please bless that this works out. Yeah. And it was really, really weird. I bet in high school it was even weirder or harder, or you got it more. I didn't really get it. I was like, dude, we're losing all the cars. What?
My dad he's as great as he is. He's not a big talker. So I really didn't know what was going on. Got it. And I didn't know anything about anything financial really at all. Probably
by design.
I don't know. Like, I think that he just worked, dude. Like, that's just like how he was. He was gone in the morning and he'd get home late. And that's all I knew. And I knew that like we had stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like seeing him get vulnerable and like, hey, we're losing the house. We got to pack up shop. We got to move. And honestly, that was like one of, I'd say, a pivot moment in my life of kind of seeing, oh, hey, as stupid as it sounds, dude, it was something I never realized of like, everything I have is from my dad making money. Literally everything. Like everything I'm wearing. And I don't know, like that never like processed to me, but watching us like lose our house and his income dramatically falling and you know, how we recovered from that, like renting this place and that place after being in like such a stable household for so long. Yeah. It was like, man, I never want to take my family through that.
So that's a little insight, more insight though. How did that feel in that moment? Like you made a decision. I never want to go through that. Like I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen to me. Like, how did it feel? Was it like, cause you're a senior in high school at that point, senior in high school, like what are you feeling in that time? Like right then and there, like in the moment?
I think I had a lot of questions. I was like, well, what happened? You know, I didn't understand what was happening with the economy. I really didn't know what that meant a lot. And, you know, I was like, well, where did our money go? You know, start asking questions like that. I think I felt like maybe a little, I probably felt some resentment, you know, of like, how do we let that happen? Yeah. You know, like we're supposed to, you know, provide and things like that. How do we let that happen? But obviously a massive thing that it wasn't in his control. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like literally the housing bubble just exploded and it was like, you know, so like some of that stuff. But then I feel like it bonded us for sure. It was like a moment where we all came together of like, okay, well, like what do we have to do? Like, I mean, we got to do what we got to do and kind of move out. But yeah.
That's cool. So then moving forward, as you graduate high school, did you have a life plan? Did you grow up LDS? Did you serve a mission? Like what was your life plan from there going forward? What was the game plan and how'd you go execute on that for the next couple of years?
Yeah. Game plan was always to play college lacrosse, which I did.
Where at?
So I went to three colleges. I went to a junior college in Erie, Pennsylvania called Mercyhurst. Okay. Tiny little town, dude. So I wasn't like highly recruited. I was good in high school, but Utah lacrosse was not like amazing. Like, dude, like we didn't have film. Like, no, I'm old. I mean, I'm 33, so this is like 2009, and so I kind of got myself recruited. Went out and toured this school. Ended up going there. And then, you know, the plan was play college ball for a year and then serve a mission. My first semester at that school, we played like a fall ball tournament. I got recruited by another school. It was a lot better in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And they weren't a junior college. They were actually like in the NCAA and all that. And they had me transfer right then. So I went just a semester to that first school and then I transferred to this next school and played there until I left on my mission. And then I was supposed to go back after my mission, but came home and served in, sorry, I'm bouncing around, but served in Mexico. Veracruz, Mexico, baby. Yeah, it was wild. It was a good time.
That's dope. I've heard really good things about that mission, but I can imagine it's a crazy place to go serve and live 2 years.
Oh, dude, it was wild. It's some of the best times of my whole life, though.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think that is? I hear that so often actually. Why do you think that is, that missions are so imprinting and so monumental and such a big deal and so like cherished, if that makes sense?
I mean, I think it's subjective to the person, but for me, it was like, I really like got put through some hard adversity, like what you get in sports, but it was so mentally challenging for me. It's similar to the Doors. It's very similar, but you kind of have to find your own way. And the things that give you fulfillment it's like a first time experience. I feel like
there's novelty to it.
Yeah, there's novelty and you're truly serving. It's like one of the first times you feel like you're actually serving people. And you're giving of yourself. So it's extremely fulfilling. And it's, you know, you hear the cliche line all the time, like the secret to life is giving, you know? And that really was what you do the whole time. So the connections you make with people, and then dude, like learning a foreign language was insanely hard for me. Yeah. Like I was the worst and at everything. Like
I don't think I could do it, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it. That's amazing. So you get home from mission. The game plan is to play another year of lacrosse in college. Did that work out? Did that not work out? How'd it go when you got home?
Yep. I was supposed to go back to that school that I was at before. I was starting to get recruited by some other schools at that point because I played pretty well my freshman year before I left on my mission. Mm-hmm. Those guys held my scholarship, which was awesome. And I went back out there and toured it again and just like to see if that's what I want to do. And dude, when you come home from your mission, like
got the goggles on.
Yeah, I mean your priorities kind of shift. But I had ended up meeting my now wife in Utah, and I wanted to be around family, so I got recruited to play at Westminster.
Oh, nice.
Which is actually, it's as small a school as it is. They have pretty good lacrosse. So I ended up not going back east and staying here and got married. And like typical return missionaries boys do, I got married to my wife, and then played the rest of my career at Westminster.
That's awesome. So that's awesome. And then what was your introduction to door to door? And we're going to talk in depth about like best practices and stuff. And I'm really excited to get those from you for my sake and for everybody else's sake as well. But like, what was your introduction? Like, how did you get into it? You're now married, college graduate. I assume you ended up graduating. Yeah. Awesome. And then you have kids at that point as well, or no?
No kids.
And what happened? How'd you get into it?
So I actually got into it while I was going to school. And it was because of my wife. Like I was like, dang, I want to marry this girl. I'm broke. Cause like I need to go make some cash. Yeah. And I was like, I literally went on KSL and I looked up, I was like, I think I could do sales. I was like, I feel like that's quick money. I didn't really know anyone in door to door. And I just went on there. I was like, sales jobs, pulls up these ads.
I'm running KSL ads, dude. I guarantee you.
Dude, it pulls up these ads and it's like sell Dish Network and Direct TV. And I was like, I could do that. So I apply on the ad. And then, I have a scheduled interview. I show up, suit and tie. I roll up and I'm not kidding you, dude. I follow the address, some dude's house. I pull up and I'm like, wait a second. I knock on the door. I was like, hey, is this John? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you Josh? I was like, sorry, I think I'm at the wrong spot. Like, where's the store? Where's the Dish store or the direct or whatever this is? And he's like, oh, no. This is different. He's like, why don't you come on in? It's like, okay. So I go into this random dude's house and I'm not kidding you, dude. You're sitting at a table like this, like a little kid table. Yeah. There's crayons everywhere. It was, and this, I'm like, hey man, I'm confused. Like, what is this? And he goes, my other office is being worked on, or else I would have you met me there. But, I'm going to have you meet here. I was like, well, what about the store? He's like, there's no store. We sell this door to door. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I knock on the door. I see what current TV provider they have, and then I sell them either Dish or Direct TV. I was like, okay. I was like, well, what can I make? He's like, you can make $50 a deal. And I was like, well, how many could I do in a day? And he's like, if you're really good, you could do 3. I was like, you're telling me I can make $150 in a day? He's like, yeah. I was like, sign me up. And there's some guy that just had his own.
If you're really good, you can do 3. I love that.
Dude, I mean.
I love that. You got a high bar.
$50. So yeah, I started making $50 a deal. And in satellite, if you don't know, like, cause I did a lot of my career in satellite, like a good rep's going to make $400 a deal. Yeah. I'm making $50 to start.
But you're stoked.
And I'm pumped, dude. I'm like $150 a day. I was like, I could, that's $1,000 or more in a week. I was like, I could do that. So I start working for this guy. And then I find out real quick. I mean, like the guy that he had take me out on my first day of the doors was, his name was Robert. He, dude, hung over. We're not in a uniform, literally just wearing t-shirt and shorts, knocking on random people's doors. And he's super hungover. He doesn't get a deal. I kind of get an idea what he does, and he just sent me off. And I just started selling out in Tooele. It was here in Utah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, so that's how I got into it. And then I ran into a good friend of mine. He's now one of the VPs at Solar Pros. His name's Cam Gray. I ran into him at the gym, and he's a good childhood friend. Like, he was like always big brother. And he's like, dude, what are you up to? And I was like, dude, I'm actually selling Dish door to door. And he's like, he worked for a dealer called Clear Satellite at that time, which was like a big Direct TV dealer. you guys have probably never even heard of these companies, but in the satellite world, there's his own little world.
I love it.
He's like, well, what are you getting paid? I was like, I'm getting paid $50 a deal. And he just starts laughing. He's like, dude, you're getting screwed. He's like, come out with me to Lincoln, Nebraska, and I'll pay you $250 a deal. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I shot out there and sold with him for the rest of the summer. And that's, after that, I was like, I can't remember what I made that first year, probably like 15 grand that first summer. And I was stoked, dude. I was like, this is the best thing ever. Yeah. So that was kind of my little intro. I mean, that was 2013.
That's amazing. Yeah. And then, so obviously fast forwarding, and I gave it away at the beginning. So people are like, okay, dang, I know what this dude does. Like, it's a whole different world. It's insane, like how different it is. And it's also insane. One thing I love to think about is like, anybody can go and do it. Like, you are not this crazy high prospect for door you stumbled upon on KSL, and then someone saw you at the gym, and it was one of those interactions that turned into you still work with him. Yeah. And the amount of revenue that 2,000 installs in the industry you're in is just like mind boggling. Oh yeah. Right. And income and everything, all numbers included. So how do you go from there to like working your way up through there to getting to where you're at? Like, what does that look like? Where's the mentorship that gets you there? Where's like the shift in your perspective? How did that turn into a career when clearly you were going to school to go get your degree and do something else?
I mean, it was little by little. And dude, I mean, just for anyone listening to this, like, I'm going to give you a really good example of what not to do. And I always preach that. I'm like, I am a great example of the wrong way. I feel like I'm making up for lost time now of like, if I would have had certain things or like, I had some character flaws for sure that I can, we could talk about, but that prevented my growth. Cause I've done this for 11 years and I'm, I feel like I have hit a stride for sure, but it's delayed, dude. Like, it's for sure delayed. But I think one of the biggest things was, it was always like a summer to summer thing at first. It was always like, hey, I made that money, was able to, propose to my wife, go buy a ring, and then my plan was to get my degree, because that was like my junior year of college. It was to get my degree in clinical psychology, then go get my PhD and become a professor and do marriage and family therapy, which people who will meet me, they'll be like, bro, I never thought they'd be in the cards for you, but I really do like that. The family is sacred to me, and like the dynamic of like what makes it work, and a one-on-one relationship with like a spouse, what makes it work. I love it. So that was the plan, and then obviously you get married, and you're like, whew, it wasn't just the ring. Now we gotta provide, and that led to, I was like, hey, I'll do another summer. So going into like my second summer, I actually went and did alarms. So I got out of satellite, went and did alarms, and learned pretty quickly, like, the vehicle that you're in really matters. Company I was with was Alder. Hopefully they've changed some stuff around since then, but did not have a great experience. I got sued. I did 80 accounts in like the 2 months that I was there, which for alarms was pretty solid as a rookie. And I got sued for like 30 G's right when I left in their model, which is a whole nother thing. So I got recruited back into satellite by Cam Gray again, and was at a company called Dish One. And there is when I was like, hey, I want to manage. So it was like my third year in door to door. I was like, hey, let's build a team. So I recruited some guys from my lacrosse team, and we went out to Kansas, and had a great summer. It was my first year making over 100K, and which is interesting. Like, a lot of people think, oh, I should make 100K my first summer. It's like, it took me 3 summers to even get there. But we went and ran a good little squad in Kansas, and that's really when I started like to catch like, hey, this is something I want to do. Like, I just made 100 grand. I was a little torn because at the end of that summer, this would be like 2016. I wanted to go play professional lacrosse. I just graduated college, and I did get picked up by a team in Florida, but the money is terrible. Like, college lacrosse is not, professional lacrosse is not, it's not even like professional soccer. Yeah. Sure as hell isn't like an NFL or anything like that. And I think like my sign on for it was like 12 grand. and I was going to make like $800 a game, move my family to Florida. And
so get another job too, for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was just like, I always had a dream to play professional lacrosse. And as soon as I got into it and I actually made the team, it was, dude, like, what the freak are we doing? And that's when I think I did commit to like, hey, I just made 150 grand in door to door. Like, what are we doing? So I did commit, but, and then I talked about, this is where I feel like some character flaws got in the way of my growth, is I was always trying to skip steps. And
which is huge.
Yeah. I mean,
explain that, like, explain what you mean by that.
Yeah. Like I wanted the pay without the work. Like, give me the highest pay just because I'm me. Like, and I was a top producer, but it was, when I don't know what it is. Like when you're a top producer, you think that you think you're worth more than you are. And you don't recognize that the worth comes from the networks, not the individual guy, especially who's on a top pay scale. There's not a ton of margin on those guys. So like your value add really isn't there. So I mean, I was definitely the guy that was like, anyone making money on me, I was like, what's he doing for me?
Yeah.
You know, like that kind of mindset. Or he doesn't,
which is impossible to see, and it also is the most cannibalistic way of looking at an organization.
Dude,
everywhere you go, someone should and will make money on you.
Absolutely.
At any level that you're at.
Absolutely. Like, dude, it's not even just door to door. It's like,
it's every industry,
everything. Like,
yeah, it's super strange.
Door to door is, if it's aligned, that person who's making money on you should add value.
Yep.
And they should add a lot of value depending on like how much they make. And that's like, you know, the importance of like who you work with. But so I was trying to skip steps. I was, I wanted the pay of like running top teams, the income, but I didn't, you know, I was like, I don't want to do any more summers. So I actually transitioned off the doors and I got offered to be on our training department at Dishwater Caliber. So I transitioned to that role, where I was just like going out and training teams and like helping build out content for, our training department. And, I got paid a salary plus, you know, like small override here and there on some stuff. And my income completely dropped. And then I'm all upset that I didn't want to go do the hardest part of the job, which was like go out and grind with teams and lead and be like an actual leader and make that money that way. I thought that I was good enough that just by training, I should get, you know, pay me $250K a year. Yeah. And it's actually really embarrassing looking back at it. You're like, dude, I was sad.
And I mean, like, to give everyone, I mean, you're at this point, you were managing how many people? You're in a good team, it sounds like, but like, how many people were you running to have that outlook of like, oh, I deserve to like, be like in a,
dude, like 15.
Yeah.
Like not even a big team. like terrible. Like it's honestly like, you look back at it, you're like, wow. Like, I mean,
it just happens.
You get what you give, you know, it's like, all right, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But
so then going from there, now you're in this position, you're realizing, oh shit, my income drastically changed. And that's kind of the reason I'm here, is to go make sure I make good money. Like, do you have to swallow a pride pill and like, or do you kind of continue with those traits you wish you didn't for even longer after that?
I for sure took them with me. I will say, like, the culture that you're in also, I mean, I was 8 of my 11 years in door to door were with one company. And, I just saw how things got done there. And it was definitely a culture of scarcity and, entitlement.
Yeah.
So I felt like I, you know, looking back, I was for sure entitled, and it was I was not in tune with abundance at all. Mm-hmm. And, but so were a lot of other people. So I kind of felt like it was just normal. This is how things got done here. Mm-hmm. Like, if you wanted to get paid more, you would go leverage a deal against whoever could control that. Mm-hmm. Right. You know, it was all about leverage. It was like squeaky wheel kind of stuff. So, with the training stuff, granted, like, there's a lot to this story, but the company we were in, Caliber, went from selling just Dish Network to introducing like ADT alarms, Sprint cell phones. And I gravitated towards selling cell phones. I don't know if you remember that at Vivint. Even.
Oh yeah, bro. We launched the sprint program. I threw a few sprint lines around, bro.
We were hucking those lines, baby. Yeah, we were slinging.
I hated it.
Oh, it was terrible, dude. It was
I did not like it. I did not like it.
The systems were a mess. But again, talking about skipping steps, I saw, and I think a lot of guys do this. I saw Sprint as this new product that didn't have leadership that I could go maybe like help pioneer in a way and add and get ahead quicker than if I was doing, where there's all these other regions and teams that were ahead of me, kind of on the totem pole, on the dish side. So I was like, oh yeah, let's dive into this cell phone stuff. And I quickly saw, like, on the training side, I was like, okay, this isn't going to be for me. I want to, where's the money at? Mm-hmm. Hey, the money's with the regionals. So you got to be a regional if you want to make money. Okay. What's a regional do? And, they actually paired me up. Caliber was like, hey, we have this guy who was a little rogue. We just brought him back. He's got some character flaws. We think like you could help him, and he has a network. Like, why don't you be a co-regional with him? And that's actually how I became a regional.
Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So it was a kind of like a project I got put on to help a guy with, that had some character flaws as well, with like, past drug issues and things like that. But he was a hell of a recruiter and just one of those insane producers, just like absolutely insane producer. And it was like, hey, we think, if you can just guide him, you guys could do well together. So I was like, cool. Like, that's going to get me there faster. Let's do it.
I love it.
Right. And again, it was like anything to skip a step.
Yeah.
Anything
for
to
sure.
skip a step.
Any shortcut you could take. Right. Mm-hmm. And then how big did you go do that thing? How big did you get within the satellite? What did you go and accomplish there? And then how did you go make the pivot to solar? How did you take that leap of faith and everything? And then I'm really excited to get into the details, the nitty gritty of like best practices of how you went from where you started in solar to where you're at 2 years later. It's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I gravitated towards the cell phone side. So we were actually pretty decent size. There were probably like 80, 90 guys inside of that. And we did like a lot of events and trade and home shows and things like that. COVID hit, completely smashed that business. So 2018, 19, 20, 21, I rebuilt, we rebuilt, like something massive happened to our network. We had to like kind of restart in a lot of ways. And Sprint ended up getting sold to T-Mobile. T-Mobile bought Sprint.
Yep.
Kind of went through that whole route, and it was, the end of 21, I actually split away from that partner and was just trying to take on my own group to do T-Mobile internet in Texas. Mm-hmm. So, in this whole story, it's like 15 different products. Like Sprint has its own products inside of that. And then T-Mobile comes in, they have their own products inside of that. It's just like relearning a new system and like no consistency. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't offering my guys any type of consistency. It was just like anything that was new that could get us ahead faster. I was like, hey, let's go towards that, which just wasn't the route. But we did T-Mobile, and that year Caliber also branched out a solar division. And we saw really quickly, like, you got T-Mobile, you got Dish, you got ADT Alarms, and you got solar. It's just crazy to look at that type of business model now and be like, well, no one, like, there was a lot that was going on there. Yeah. It's like,
could you imagine trying to run that? I'm thinking about is being like the guy, like the VP level or higher, like the executives, just like, okay. Oh, that gives me anxiety. It was crazy. Dude. That gives me anxiety. What beast, bro.
It was crazy. I mean, there was a reason why. I mean, we never really grew.
Yeah.
And we like as a company, like we kind of grew, but like nothing like you saw like at Vivint or like some of these other companies that just took off. And now I see it so much more clear. But to kind of sum up this story, we saw really quickly on that solar side that these guys were making buku bucks. And like I had heard, obviously being in the industry, like you hear like everyone making money in solar in like 18 and 19, but I honestly didn't believe it. I remember going to door con and I saw a kid wear a shirt. It said Solar Millionaire on it. And I was like, that's bullshit. Like there's no way that that's real. Yeah. And it was real. Yeah. Especially then. But I mean, we saw that all those guys were making so much more money. So all the senior leadership got together and we're like, hey, let's go all solar. So 22, the end of 21, I started selling solar. That's when I first was like, all right, I'm going to go back on the doors. Let's figure it out. Started slinging, converted my guys from T-Mobile to solar. And we went out for our first summer or our first year in 22. Had about 75 guys with that route and went and chose a market that, again, it's like, hey, where can we go make the best margin with like the softest doors?
Yeah.
Which I can understand, but we chose North Carolina, which if you hear that now, you're like, why would you ever go there? But at the time it was supposed to be really good.
Yep.
Ton of adversity. I mean, tons of adversity. We had 75 guys, none of which had sold solar. I mean, we had 45 setters, you know, and 15 closers ish that were all brand new to solar, trying to run how we ran dish programs in like summer housing. Yeah. I mean, dude, I was paying $80,000 a month in housing.
Yeah.
For our reps. Like it was insane. We had, it was this crazy time. And like, why I'm saying it was difficult was solar takes time to get going, like to build up your pipeline. So when you start people in March, end of March, early April, and it's June and you're getting your first installs. Yep. In July, like the summer's almost over. Like that's difficult.
Yeah.
That's very, very difficult.
Super interesting.
Yeah. Like how we were aligned with the installer there, it just wasn't great. Yep. Kind of sum that up. Basically, we were like, hey, this isn't working. We're going to take all of our guys and move them to Arizona. Because a lot of guys, like there was a lot more stability on the install side there. So we moved all of our guys there at the end of 22. So like August of 2022. And that's right when this Caliber Solar Pros thing split. And then Solar Pros was actually formed in Arizona from that, you know, after that move. Yeah. And in that, you know, even though like our pay got way better, you know, the alignment was better, we lost all of those guys. So the start of 23 was like, hey, we're rebuilding again.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, to give the answers of the story from there, from that rebuild stage to 250 dudes doing almost 2,000 installs in a year, like it's just crazy. It's really, really, really crazy numbers. And if people are in the industry, they understand those numbers or they don't believe them, one of the two, right? Or they don't understand them at all. And like, that's insane. That's like top 1% of groups. And it's really, really cool. So to go from that, your story is awesome, by the way. I love it. It's so unorthodox.
It's crazy.
It's so unorthodox.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of funny even. Like, it's almost kind of like, how the hell did you make it?
Oh, yeah.
And I love it. And I think that's probably where a lot of your big, like, separating strengths and traits that separate you from the pack come from. So, like, kudos to you for making it. But now it's like, okay, you got to go rebuild. And whether someone just came off of a killer year or a struggle year, or they're just deciding to be a leader, what do you think the difference is between someone who's like, okay, I want to go and do this thing really big, that goes and does very mediocre year over year over year? What do you think the difference is between them and somebody who goes and does it big? And I want to add that I don't mean first year. I don't mean like someone who says I want to be the best rookie and they're not, and the other guy who says I want to be the best rookie and they are, because that's a lot of times that's more of just a talent thing or a luck thing. Yeah. I'm talking about the guys who are like, no, I'm going to go be a regional, and like something about it, you either know they're going to, or they show you and they do go and do it. Like, what's the difference? What makes it happen?
Dude, vision. Absolutely. To me, it has to be vision. Like, guys that go make it happen, they've earned their vision. I talk about this all the time. It's like guys who, you don't want to be the leader that kind of.
I'm gonna write that down. Actually, I don't usually pull my phone out at all during these. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy that kind of knows where they're going. Like if you want to do, you know, pretty big things and be like an empire builder, like you have to have absolute clarity, and it has to be earned. And what I mean by that is, it's it's not like, hey, I wrote out what I want to do over the next 5 years, or like how I'm going to hit X amount of numbers this year. One time.
Yeah.
It's like every day you're adding to it, just like you would a skill set, right? Like if you're trying to develop sales skills or whatever, like you're reading, you're role playing, you're doing something. I think absolute clarity on vision is like, I add to it daily and I add fuel to that fire. Like in the conviction, like it's in your bones.
Yeah.
It's in your bones. Like you like, not that it couldn't change or alter.
Yeah.
It's just that it's on the forefront of your mind every day. So that's what I see. And it forces an identity shift. Like one thing that we preach to guys is like, as they're coming up as managers, I'm like, hey, stop thinking of yourself as a manager. Mm-hmm. Think of yourself as a regional. How would a regional solve this problem? Mm-hmm. What is the difference? Can you recognize it? Mm-hmm. So I think it's how you view yourself. Like I'm a regional. I don't view myself as a regional. I write down, I'm a partner at Pros. Mm-hmm. That's how I view myself. It's like, I'm going to be a partner here.
Yeah.
So I think that changes how you act and, and how you respond to these little inevitable or massive, like, speed bumps along the way.
Yeah.
When you know where you're going, it's like, it's easy to be like, okay, let's just get around this, but I still know I'm going over here.
Yeah.
Versus like, if I can only see to here and the speed bumps here, it's going to take me that way.
Yep.
And you get so hung up. So that's what I would say. So I'd say
vision. Two things. Finish it. Sorry. Go for it. Vision
and identity. Like how do you view yourself?
I'm going to steal that, by the way. The earning your vision is a really cool concept. I love. That's what I wrote down. I love that. I hope you don't mind if I steal. I'll give you credit when I do. So you said a few really, really cool things that I want to unpack that I think are literally, I could not agree or echo more, is like, that's what it is having vision big enough and long enough and certain enough that it shifts your identity.
Yes.
That's the key, because a lot of people have goals and a lot of people have their why and a lot of people have what they want and they have this, what they would call a vision, but it definitely doesn't go shift their identity. And the reason that's so key, the reason that's so important, it's not because you walk around different. That's part of it, but that's not what it is. It's, Tony Robbins talks about it. The most powerful force in any human being is their need to act congruent and aligned with their identity.
Totally.
Like, that's the most powerful force in you. So if the most powerful force in you is to act in accordance with your identity, then that should be the first thing you do, is go and make sure you have the identity of what you want to be in 10 years, not what you want to be in 6 months, not what you think you want to be tomorrow. Like, if you can go really have like a full-on identity shift, that's when you're unlocking and utilizing the most powerful force in you, which is insane.
Absolutely.
So I love that you said that. I really, really love that you said that. And the reason is because when you unlock the most powerful force, then everything changes, right? Then very simple examples. Then the little things change. When you wake up and you're like, oh, I could reschedule that meeting or I could do it. No, you do it and then you do another one.
Yeah.
Right? Then it's like, oh, I got to go to bed, but I told myself I'd read every day. No, then you read every day, period. Right? It's not a decision you have to continually make. And then it's like, oh, I'm really tired and I'm worn out and the company just changed the pay on me. And it's this whole list of shit that you could either sit and bitch about with other reps that can totally relate and they'll show up to your pity party and you'll feel really good in that conversation. Or you'll go be like, I don't really care, frankly. I got something I got to go do. Right? And you're going to look at it way positive. Like, there must be a reason for all these changes and all these things going on, but I'm going to go focus on my job. And I love the fact that this is my job and I get to turn it into my career.
Yeah.
And like, when you have an identity shift, you shift everything. You shift how you talk about it. You shift how you move. You shift whether or not you complain. And you shift everything. So I think that's a perfect answer. I really, really like that a lot. What do you think, like, for people getting into the industry, what do you think is holding people back when it comes to having a tough year or couple months or whatever it may be? A lot of people you see, they have so much potential and they come in, it's like this blank canvas where you as a leader, like, your job is to see the potential in people and you see it. Like, it's not one of the ones where you kind of fake see it and you're like, you got this. Like, no, you like see it. And they go and as some people do, go have a really tough, maybe even they have a really slow second year, or maybe they were really good and then they go to a new market and they start getting crushed. And then you see them lose that belief in themselves and just fizzle out. Like, what advice do you have to people there where there's so much untapped potential that a little bit of failure might make them feel like that potential is not there anymore?
Yeah, I think I think it all goes back to, what are we accomplishing? Like knowing where you're going. So it's like, hey, this rough year, this rough patch, it's part of it. Like what can we actually take from this that's going to help you in the future? Like there's so many experiences I can think back to. I'm just like, why is this happening to me? Mm-hmm. Why? Like this sucks ass. Like this is the worst. And then now
and all of those would have been a point where you could have quit and it made sense.
Totally. Yep. Oh yeah. And now I look at them now and, a manager or somebody come up to me and say, dude, I'm going through this and it's somewhat similar. And it's like, oh, that's why I went through it, was like, it's for this moment. Like I can speak with so much conviction on like, hey, this is what happens on the other side of that. So, I mean, it depends, man. If they're a leader, it's like, dude, this is the price of leadership. This is what it takes. Mm-hmm. Like you're going to have an off year. It's not going to be perfect, but like, why would it be any other way? Yeah. Law of the harvest, like you could go back to any universal law. It comes down to this. There will be ebbs and flows. Mm-hmm. And the greater the opposition, the greater the reward. It's a mere reflection. So how hard it is now, you automatically know that if you can overcome that, it's going to equal that great of a reward on the other side. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd probably try and talk them through something like that. But and I think that's what's so hard is when you don't know where you're going and you're aimless, it's so easy to get thrown off course. So even if they're not a leader, just someone in life, like just like a high performing rep, it's like, dude, this is a life experience. Like this is what's supposed to be. Like you're gonna face things like this in your marriage. You're gonna face things like this with your kids. Yep. And what are you gonna like? How you respond now is a really good indicator of how you're gonna respond then. Like what are you gonna do when you've been married 10 years? And, you have a really hard time with your wife and you're like, dude, we just had 2 great years. What's going on this year? Yeah. I love that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I love that. And I think like you said, every universal law talks about it and it's all part of it. And if you feel entitled to it being any other way, you're in for a treat. Right. Yeah. And it's honestly like even me, it's really hard to like pull myself out of those moments when it's all going wrong. Oh yeah. And you just want everyone to feel sorry for you because rightfully so they should, because it's all going wrong. It's not your fault, quote unquote. Like those moments are like scary until you just take a deep breath and you're like, bro, I remember 3 years ago, the same exact shit was happening and I thought it was the end of the world. And then the next 2-year run was the funnest run ever. Like I just need to get through this. And like, that's why one of our biggest mottos, and I'm glad you touched on it, is literally you cannot beat someone who doesn't quit. Yeah. And to me, it's like the most empowering thing ever, because if you can say that and believe it when you're at the lowest of all lows, that's all you need to know. That's it. You just need to know that you're not going to get beat until you quit. Once you quit, you're beat. Like that's when you get beat. That's when the bell rings. That's when it's up. That's when you lose the trophy. That's when you're beat. But none of the ups and downs really matter as long as you don't quit and as long as you're willing to not quit longer than the guy that you're trying to go beat. Totally. And it's like, that's like the most... Yeah, that's probably the only thing that drags me out of those dark times, because I get real deep in them, and then taking a deep breath and just realizing it's not as deep as you think it is either. It's just like it ain't that deep. Fear's a mile wide and an inch deep. Yeah, exactly. Take a step, you're like, oh, dude, we're fine. Exactly, we're totally fine. Exactly. It's so in the moment though, it's crazy. It's really, really, really crazy. Yeah. So to get more literal and less philosophical, like what are like best practice? Someone who wants to go and build a region, someone who wants to fill those shoes, somebody who maybe they have 5 recruits, maybe they have 15, maybe they have 25, maybe they're kind of running an office, maybe they're co-running an office. It's like, what are 3 to 5 things that are like, hey, you do this, make it a habit, become excellent at these daily or weekly things. It'll change the trajectory and your execution pace in which you want to go and attain your vision. Let's say they have a vision. What are 5 things they can literally apply? I think number 1, I mean, there's a couple I would hit on. I know there's a list. Let's hear off the top. And I didn't let you prep for this, by the way. So this is, we get like the raw. There we go. Raw info. I like it. Dude, leadership, like to do something like what we're talking about, like it requires a true leader. And, I think that starts with willingness. willingness to, lay aside ego, to be humbled, and to do what's required at that time. I think that so often guys want what they see, a regional has and like what they've built, but, understanding, hey, what did it take? And there were seasons of that. I think, an example of that might be a guy who's been a producer, has, 10, 15 guys, like those guys are producing, and he's kind of shifting more to like admin work to fulfill his time. He's shifting out of like wanting to be on the doors as much. Yeah. And, like say that the office goes into a lull and there isn't anyone there that's going to be able to go generate momentum just like that. And at that time, the leader needs to understand, like, that's me. Yeah. Like this admin stuff that I'm putting myself or like I'm doing, that's not as important as this. I'm willing to go do that because it's what's required at the moment. Yeah. So like, and that could be anything. It could be, dude, we're in a recruiting lull. Like somebody needs to go generate that. Do I have somebody that I can have go do that I could delegate to, or do I need to go do it?
And 90% of the time it's you.
It's you. Yeah. Yeah. It has to be you. So like the willingness.
Willingness. That's awesome.
Number one, willingness. Just like whatever it is at the time, because it's going to change. Like right now with how many guys we have, obviously I'm not like on the doors as much, but if we were in an absolute, like a team was in an absolute lull and we didn't have the leadership to go get it done, what do you think I'm doing? I'm flying out there. I'm going to go generate momentum. I was like, if that's me knocking and that's the way to solve it, then that's what I'll do. Yep. And just absolute willingness.
I love that. Okay. A few more. I love that. That's awesome.
Next one I would say is alignment. Alignment to me has been one, like vision was like a huge part of our growth, but it was the alignment that we had with, like, if you want to grow, you have to understand that it will not come just from you. It just won't. So the alignment with the people that you follow, and then the alignment with the people that follow you. And what I mean by that is like having truly creating the most optimal win-win scenario of like, how can I push the pace or promote the people that I follow, like my leaders above me, to put them in the best position, which if I'm wanting to make them grow, what does that make them want to do for me?
Make you grow.
Make me grow. And then the same thing for the people that follow me. If my goal is in genuinely like doing everything I can to help them grow and to, fulfill their vision, what do they want to do with mine? And it's the alignment. And you move as one. That's the only way that we grew the way that we did.
That's awesome. And that's actually something I think that gets talked about less. And I think sometimes in my experience, the vibe when you're looking down at your people is I would die for them. I would do anything for them. I will always push them to grow. And then when you look up, you're like, why the hell do they not have it figured out? And it's almost like a resentment. Like, dude, screw them. Like, they're not doing enough. But like, if you treated both ways, the people above you, like, rather than critique how they're doing it, go set up a freaking meeting and be like, yo, homie, I want to help you do this way better. Like, I want to help you go run whatever it is, whatever's lacking in your organization. Our trainings, I don't feel like they're super dialed on par. I can handle that. Do you need me to handle that? And then they realize you realize your leader didn't even know. And I've tried to implement that. And the few times that I have unknowingly implemented the alignment on the way up as well, I haven't done it great. I'm sure my VPs would listen to this and be like, dude, whatever. But there have been times where I do go, and that's kind of more of the approach is like, no, I want to go like help you go grow as a VP, because ultimately that just helps everybody all the way down the line, rather than just going down like, hey, I want to help you grow as a rep, you as my sub leaders, you as my management group leaders. Like, no, I want to also go help the VPs go be as effective and as good at what they're good at. And I can go do the things that I'm good at for more groups than just my own as well. I think that's really, really cool. Alignment also takes out the barricade of like, it'll also create more willingness when there's alignment, because then there's willingness as well to do what's needed for the collective whole, not just your own little channel.
Yeah, it breeds loyalty.
Yeah, which is really, really cool.
It creates a real deep sense of loyalty. It's like, dude, I got you. And I'm like, even the people that are above me, like Cam Gray and Chris Malink, who are above me, they know I fucking got them. Like, I'm their guy. Like, they know that I will ride and die, and that like my main goal this year was like, I'm gonna do everything I can to get them into partner pool, which they did. Like, and they're massive, dude. Like they're gonna do 16,000 accounts in their network. But, you know, I was part of that, you know, I was part of like what helped create that from our group. And then, you know, I have some of our main managers they've told me like, dude, like we want to get you to partner.
That's cool.
And
it's really cool.
Dude, when a guy tells me that, I'm like, dude, I will die for you. Like, like whatever, like I'm gonna do everything I can to help you grow. And it's just different, you know? So if you want to grow big and strong and you're not willing and you don't have alignment, dude, good luck. I've walked that path. Yeah. It's terrible. It's like thinking that you can do it on your own. It won't happen. It just won't.
That's awesome. All right. One more. Give me one more. These are golden. I love them, by the way. I'm learning a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Man, one more. I think that just truly understanding that you are the chokehold of your business and it's on you that way of like, you can't just be, you know, I break down leadership into 4 categories, and I got this from Alec Nethercott, who's one of the founders at V3 Solar. Amazing book. You should go read Core 4 Leadership. It's the best book I've ever read on door-to-door specific leadership. But he breaks down leadership into 4 categories. It's vision, character, skill, and action. And everything leadership related can be unpacked or can become kind of compartmentalized into each of those. So I think going back to like that quote that I said, like that it's from Tony Robbins, like you're the chokehold of your business, like your skill sets and your own psychology is the chokehold of your business. So law of the lid, you know, similar things. Yep. When you're maybe really proficient in just vision and, you know, maybe just 2 of those categories, you can't truly help your people grow. Like you're limited on the way that you can actually serve because you're, you know, maybe only or one dimensional, like a one trick pony, like, oh, like he's a great recruiter. Like that's it. It's like, well, do you admire him? Do you want to like live his life? Does he have a high sense of character? Like, does he do what he says he's going to do? Does he have vision? Does he take massive action? So understanding that you as a leader, you wear the burden and the mantle of like their progression is dependent on my growth. Yeah. I have to grow. And, you know, those 4 categories are a great way to like kind of narrow in, like, where should I focus? Do I have vision? Do I have high character? Do I have money problems? Like, can I lead my guys that way? You know, like, or am I paycheck to paycheck? You know, it's like, that's going to be tough to lead high caliber guys when you're broke. Yep. You know, do I busy myself with admin work or am I actually out there moving the needle? That's the action piece. You know, like, am I or like head fronting recruit or like, you know, leading the front on recruiting and then, you know, with skill, like do I have good systems? Do I know how to navigate, you know, potential like things in the management position? It's like understanding there's a lot to be working on and you are the dam in their progression. So like it's heavy.
That's interesting. Yeah, it is. It's heavy,
like,
but it's
like you wear the mantle. So like you have to grow. So I tell guys all the time, I'm like, man, I feel so much pressure to develop in all of those areas because the last thing I ever want to do is be the reason why one of my guys isn't growing because I can't deliver in some way. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally feel that. I love that. So it's super interesting.
Yeah. If a guy wants to do big things there, I think, you know, embodying those things will be a great start.
I love it. Well, dude, I mean, I want to be respectful of your time, studio's time, everyone's time, man. I appreciate you so much for making time. That was amazing. That second half, there's so many nuggets. This is actually in 3 seasons, my first time taking out my phone to take some notes. Hey. So I got some notes, some nuggets. I'm going to steal a little bit for a training. Cool. And then I'm sure we'll have you back out here. We'll go recap as you go blow up, do this thing even bigger and bigger and bigger. But anything we can do, always support. Big love. You guys are crushing. Keep it up and give us something to chase because right now you're burying us.
Let's go, dude.
My dog. I love it. Everybody watching, thank you guys. And as always, much love. Until next time.